Well, good Friday evening to you. We have made it to the weekend. I'm meteorologist Dorian Miner, and we do want to give you the first alert update as we still are tracking potential tropical cyclone 4. Eventually, this could become our next named system, Tropical Storm Debbie, if it does acquire that tonight or even as we start off the weekend. But let's get you caught up to speed on what we do have in terms of the tropics right now, because this is a look at our system, and you do see an organization that we are tracking near Cuba. Now, we are still tracking what's technically called two lobes of energy. We do have a northern branch and a southern branch at this time, but either way, whichever one becomes the most dominant feature is where we are going to track that more expansive center of circulation. But you do see there still a lot of thunderstorm growth, but the one thing that's actually helping us for now is that land interaction with Cuba. You do see plenty of thunderstorm growth mostly on the southern side of that right now. That's because we do have those warmer ocean waters, especially out towards the Caribbean Sea and still along its entire path across the Gulf of Mexico and then eventually tracking along the low country coastline. But let's take a look at the 8 o'clock advisory. Just came in from the National Hurricane Center. Those wind speeds are still below tropical storm force. Right now, those are sustained at 30 miles per hour, maybe some locally higher gusts, but for a official tropical storm, we could be tracking those about 39 miles per hour or greater. But let's take a look at the path, because over the next several days, we'll be tracking this moving across Florida and eventually as a tropical storm as it makes its way closer to our coastline. But you do see the timing here on the cone of uncertainty, still a broad range of possibilities there. And we'll go over the models in particular within the next couple of minutes. Those wind speeds still equating to tropical storm force. And notice by Tuesday afternoon, right along the South Carolina coastline and only very slowly moving towards North Carolina as we go into the middle portions of next week. But let's take a look here in terms of our future tracker, because we still have some rainfall to get through, and that's going to make those grounds a little more moist as we get ahead of this system. So those rain chances beginning to pick back up on your Saturday, and mostly again for the afternoon and early evening hours. And then eventually as we go into our Sunday, we'll start to introduce some more of that moisture. This is mostly from an inland trough, bringing us those more widespread chances of showers and thunderstorms across the region. But notice that tropical system as we get into the day on Monday, we could actually see some impacts going into Sunday night and really for the first part of your Monday morning. And then again, for the afternoon hours, we'll start to track some more of that moisture and even some gusty winds that we could see into our Monday evening and Monday night. But in particular, we do have two models. This one is the European model, the weaker of the two actually, but we also do have the global model, the GFS, and that has been trending a little bit on the stronger side, especially closer here across the low country and some of our ocean waters as a whole. But take a look into the day on Tuesday. Both models are still in agreement at this point that we could see a tropical storm just immediately off the coastline, generally within 25 to 50 miles of our coastline, but we could still see some oscillations with each model run. Some of these do take it a little further overland, and some of these actually move it away from the coastline and actually stalling out with some tropical storm force winds and those heavy rainfall amounts that are still going to be a possibility. Here's one solution there on Wednesday afternoon, still tracking that, but we actually could see some more indications that this moves further away from the low country at that point of time. Now, how much rain can we expect? It's certainly going to be the big question. We certainly can see up to 1 to 3 inches, especially out towards the I-95 corridor. And still, as we track these oscillations with that thunderstorm growth and even tracking the path of uncertainty as a whole, we could be seeing a good deal of rainfall across the entirety of the low country. Now, the highest amounts either way is actually going to be closer to the coastline, at least 2 to 4 inches of rain, and there are a good sign there that we could see even higher amounts just off the coastline. But either way, we'll have to watch those trends very closely, and some of the things that we will continue to track is first its evolution over Cuba. As I mentioned earlier, we actually still have some land interaction, and that's going to be the final determination of where we do see that eventual center of circulation. But still some uncertainties, but the guarantee is that we are going to track some very heavy rainfall, especially the closer you are to the coastline. Now, depending on that exact track and the strengthening in the Gulf of Mexico and along the Gulf Stream as a whole, we could actually see winds gusting between 40 and maybe even 50 miles per hour, as indicated by the National Hurricane Center. And also tracking the coastal flooding with that onshore component, tides are a little bit lower, which is only to help us unless we do have that heavy rainfall at times. Now, we are still tracking at least minor flood states, maybe even moderate flood states as we get into our Tuesday night and Wednesday. We'll watch those high tides very closely as we are still seeing indications there of an onshore component continuing even into our Wednesday and Wednesday night. But we are still tracking that even as we go into the next several days. The timing could certainly change, but also tracking the position of the system. We still have a wide range of solutions, and we'll continue to give you the first alert as we know more information about all of these parameters. But let's take a look here in terms of what you can do to prepare now. Certainly going to be the good time to prepare as we are within the last couple days of preparation there. So do plan for a tropical storm at this time, and you can download the Live 5 First Alert Weather app for all of the latest information, up to the minute details, plus our weekend planner, as we still have some rain chances to get through before we see potential tropical cyclone 4. We'll be back here just after the 11 o'clock hour, and you can view us here on Live 5 News at 11 o'clock. Have a great night.